Headline, Cowboys stat overview. How the Cowboys front seven matches up with the Eagles offensive line, and the little sub thing after the headline. While many think the Eagles have a top 3 offense in football, Dan Quinn and the Dallas defense might have something to say about it. Okay, this is, again, Blogging the Boys. Salute to those guys. They're doing great work over there, aren't they, guys? Blogging the Boys outfit.
Yeah, they do a nice job. Yeah.
Just cranking content. First real talking point of this article is the premise that maybe the Eagles' running game isn't all that amazing considering their opponents, and all the Eagles' opponents this year have been like between 15 and 28th at stopping the run, and they gauge that not off of rushing yards allowed per game, because that would not be a very accurate indication. It doesn't take into account game flow and all that. They go with run play win rate, and it's ugly who the Eagles have faced. They're either average or bad at stopping the run. Now, the bad is that the Cowboys are 26th in that run stop win rate. There's only 6 teams in the NFL worse than them. So, gentlemen, you have the floor. You heard me go upside Stephen Jones' head with that question last week. And so my question for you here is, can you win the Super Bowl with a run defense this bad?
Yes. I think that this run defense will continue to get better as the season goes along. I think you're starting to see Neville Gallimore play better the last 2 weeks. I think he started the season poor, and maybe he had to play into shape. I mean, Brian.
So you're saying they'll get better, but based on how they played the first 5 games.
It's not acceptable.
Yeah.
But they need to improve. I agree with you there. Like, they're not good enough right now.
But they have enough on the roster.
But I think that, I think Quentin Bohanna, getting him back healthy, I think improved play by Neville Gallimore will help. I think Osa Odigizua has been really good. I think they can get better as a run defense. But certainly, if you wanted to bolster that and you wanted to sign an Ndamukong Suh that's still on the street, or if you did want to call Carolina and you wanted to make a trade and they wanted to give you a Derek Brown, who was one of the better run defenders coming out of Auburn a couple of years ago in the draft, and maybe that's a move where Will McClay and Stephen Jones say, okay, we'll give up a third-round pick or whatever it is. I mean, they're very stingy when it comes to giving up draft capital, so they've got to say this is a player that we like, but that's a hell of a guy. That's a former top 10 pick.
Carolina needs picks.
And they do need help.
I'd be burning up that
Derek Brown
right
would
now.
be a home run kind of guy to come in here and bolster that defensive line. That's why it's annoying that they let a guy like John Ridgeway go, because while he did not flash at all in the preseason or in camp, that's just a big body that can just hold the point at the line of scrimmage and then allow the speed that you have at safety and linebacker to rally around the football.
I love the idea of the big, young, game-breaking defensive tackle. I don't know if that works because of the draft capital that you have to give up and the contract that you have to give up, and they have money earmarked for contracts. So, I'd be more interested in like Sue or a veteran, like they had the Brent Urban guy last year that didn't work out ultimately. He got injured. But I would love your thoughts on this, Brian. 26th.
Where are they struggling on the run? What area? What area, when you watch the game, where do they struggle on the run?
Is it Gallimore? Is it the smaller tackles?
No, where does the ball go when they get gashed on
off
the runs?
of their left side? The defense's left side.
Yeah, and it's on the edge, right?
Yeah.
It's the perimeter runs. Okay, it's not when we start talking about trading for Derek Brown and improving defensive tackles and Ndamukong Suh and people like that. It's really this. They've been able to handle things inside. The problems they've had have been on the edge, and it's force, it's safety play, it's defensive ends, it's linebackers getting over the top. That's where the problems. But I don't think anybody's run the ball with any huge success inside on them. So to me, it's more about scheme and how you're playing on the edge. If Diggs is more willing to tackle, and we saw it last week.
We did.
If Diggs is more willing to not give ground on the edge and widen the corner, then you're going to probably play a little bit better run defense. If you get Van Der Esch or Barr or one of these guys, Parsons, downhill off the edge in the alley, you're probably going to play better run defense.
So is the solution replace Barr with a good run stopping inside linebacker?
Yeah, I think to me the biggest problem is they have a corner that wasn't initially willing to tackle. They were late getting a linebacker in. They were getting hooked at the edge, and they weren't getting a linebacker because he's playing the B gap, because your defensive tackles are doing their job in the A.
Okay.
The inside linebacker is responsible for the B gap. That's the next gap.
So
over.
is this the cost of playing the pass so strong?
I think it's that when you get light on the edge, when you're, and that's the thing. Even with Randy Gregory there, that his not being a stout defensive end. That's why guys like Armstrong and people like that, Tank, have a little bit more success because
hasn't Tank been great at this?
Well, in
his career?
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. The whole thing was, can you get people to play on the edge? When you just get knocked down and all of a sudden then you got the linebackers trying to scrape over the top and they can't get there, people are like going, well, what the hell is wrong with Van Der Esch? Well, Van Der Esch is trying to play in the B gap. That's his responsibility. If the ball goes the outside and then all of a sudden you got the A secured, he's got the B, the end has the C gap to the outside, and now there's a corner and a safety that are running that way too. Bobby Bell came on the other day. What was he telling us about the ball? 12 yards of carry on the outside?
On the outside.
Yeah, that's your problem. If somebody were to come in there and just, like the Rams that year in the playoffs, they bullied you inside. The linebackers weren't, they were handling inside. The human log was in there playing, Woods and all those guys. They were getting bashed around in there. Ball was going inside. Yeah, that's difficult. But where teams have run the ball on this team is on the perimeter.
And we can't take Diggs off the field, obviously, to improve your tackling at quarterback.
And that's why.
But he's gotten better, I would say.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully your run defense improves because of scheme and because of players' willingness to say, okay, I've got to be better. I can't get just pushed out of here. I've got to be better at playing my gap. I've got to get better at getting over the top. Maybe with Wilson on the field, you get more downhill play.
Yeah.
In gaps.
And Kirsch is going to give you more sound tackling, obviously.
That's the trick.
So do you believe it fixes by the time we get to the playoffs?
I think to me is as long as it's a perimeter game, to me, I think it could get taken care of. But the minute you say that if they start just running on you inside,
you believe in the tackles against the run, though.
I do believe in the tackles against the run.
Yeah,
I do because they've shown that the ball hasn't. When teams, what the Rams tried to do, the Rams didn't really try and run the ball on the outside last week.
Well, to me, that seems even easier then, because finding a veteran linebacker who can stop the run, they're not making $5 million. These are league minimum type of dudes.
Well, and just not to.
Well, they went cheap. They went cheap on Barr. And Barr's not as good as he has been in the past.
He's played one good game. I think it was against Cincinnati. He looked good. Otherwise, I'm with you. He's played subpar. I will say to your point, Gavin, they have not played against a good line yet. And this week, if Philly's healthy, we'll get our first test against, all right, how do they hold up inside against a good line?
That's
what
I'm worried about.
Will Philly be healthy?
It's Philly, it's San Francisco. Tampa did run well against you. Green Bay's getting close to 5 yards per attempt. And then once you get to the Super Bowl, it's Buffalo or Kansas City.
Yeah.
Like Andy Reid is going to destroy any sort of weakness you have, isn't he, Brian?
Oh, no, that's what Andy does. But, okay, let me ask you this then, guys. Do we think this team can really rush the passer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that their best
Number
trait?
one in the NFL.
Is that their best trait?
By far.
Yeah,
they don't
absolutely.
need defensive ends, right?
No.
No defensive ends, right?
Never hurts.
They don't need pass rushers.
I would never say no, you don't need them.
Do you look at what the teams they've played is with the protection numbers for the teams they've played so far? In sacks, Rams ranked 31st, Commanders 30th, Cincinnati 28th, Giants 26th.
Yeah.
We think they rushed the passer pretty well, right? We're not concerned about that, right?
No.
Are we worried about them rushing the passer now?
I'm not worried.
Because they played a team that
They played teams that are really struggling, though. Maybe I
30,
should be worried.
31,
That's
30,
fair.
28, 26.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to me,
But maybe the Cowboys are having an impact on that stat.
well, they also are playing bad teams.
No, they're playing bad lines.
They're playing bad
They
lines.
are playing bad lines, and they're taking advantage of them.
that's the thing about it is and it's not a small sample size because it's 5 games. It's 5. You've played 5 games, so it's not like it's a 2-game sample size. But that's what I'm saying.
But Tank and Micah are amongst the best pass rushing duos, if not the absolute number one.
They're doing a hell of a job.
You don't have to know any stats to see
They're
that.
also doing what a good pass rush should do, and that's dominating and wreaking havoc on a crappy O-line.
Absolutely.
But we could say that too about the run game. I mean, why? Okay, why are they these crappy offensive lines? Why are they running the ball on the edge on you?
Which means maybe they're not a good run defense.
Yeah, could be.
So, yeah, a lot to consider there. I love that. Other takeaways in this article. Thank you, Brian. That was a tremendous breakdown.
Yeah.
And, he sees stuff on film that he provides layers to the conversation we wouldn't get otherwise.
I appreciate the opportunity because, like I said, to me, if you get gashed inside this week running the football, I am all about going because that's linebacker play and defensive tackle play.
I would say to the front office, you got 3 weeks. I would tell the coaching staff 3 weeks, or we got to do something because the weakness against the run could end up costing you, in an incredible defensive collection that you have. The Cardinals, their run stop win rate was 27th. They held Sanders to under 4 yards per carry on 15 attempts. The Eagles do only get 4.3 yards per attempt. So I don't think it's a lock that they're going to come in and run all over the Cowboys.
The quarterback's your problem there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is if you're not assignment sound, he's going to pull it and then he's going to run. And that's the thing you have to be aware of. But if you get near him, he will go down. He's not going to try and, he's going to get down. So get bodies to him and then get him to the ground quick if he decides to pull that ball.